Imagine trying to build a civilization on an island with no rivers, few natural resources, and nothing but open ocean stretching to every horizon. By every measure, it should have been one of the hardest places on Earth for people to survive. Yet somehow, ancient voyagers found this tiny volcanic island, built a thriving civilization. Carved nearly 1,000 giant stone statues and created a culture unlike any other in the Pacific. How was any of that possible? And why is the story of this remote island more relevant to the modern world than ever before? This is Easter Island. But this is not simply the story of the Moai. It is the story of a people who transformed isolation into a homeland, and of an island whose greatest mystery was never the statues themselves. It was how life managed to flourish here at all. To understand that story, we have to begin with the island itself. Easter Island did not emerge gently. It erupted. Deep beneath the southeastern Pacific, at a geological hotspot where heat from the Earth's mantle pushes through the oceanic crust, a series of volcanic eruptions began building mass on the sea floor. The oldest of the three main volcanic structures, Poik, broke the surface roughly 700,000 years ago. Rongorongo followed, then Theravaka. Lava flows from all three spread and merged over millennia, forming a roughly triangular island. Three volcanoes at three corners, the shape of necessity made permanent in stone. Below the surface, lava tubes run through the rock like hollow veins. The island's bones are dense basalt, while a lighter, porous volcanic tuff would become the primary material for everything the Rapa Nui would one day carve. What the island once held is harder to see now. Core samples from the lake sediment reveal that Easter Island was once forested with a large palm species that grew tall enough to rival any tree in the Pacific. That species is extinct today. The toromiro, a hardwood the Rapa Nui used for sculpture and writing tablets, is gone from the island in its wild form and survives only in botanical gardens elsewhere in the world. What you see now, open grassland, bracken fern and wind, is not what was always here. Before human settlement, more than 25 species of seabirds nested on the island. Most are gone now. No native mammals existed before people arrived. The first mammals came with the settlers, chickens carried deliberately, and the Polynesian rat carried as an unintended stowaway, whose presence would matter more than anyone anticipated. The ocean is extraordinarily clear, visibility underwater extending over 200 feet because the water is so low in microscopic plant life. That clarity is a symptom of scarcity. Tuna pass through seasonally. Sea turtles are present year-round. A few coral species exist here, found nowhere else. But the ocean does not offer abundance. Wind moves through constantly. Trade winds carry salt that damages vegetation, strip soil not held by roots, and accelerate evaporation. There are no rivers. Fresh water collects in volcanic crater lakes and coastal springs. The volcanic soil can support certain crops, but erodes easily when exposed. All of this is what the first people who arrived here inherited. They did not choose these conditions. They arrived to find them. And what they did with them is the rest of the story. Stand anywhere on Easter Island and look out. In every direction, the Pacific eventually closes the horizon. The people who came here understood that ocean in ways most of us never will. They came from the Western Pacific. The same navigating tradition that settled Hawaii, New Zealand, and Tahiti, reading stars and swells and bird behavior and cloud formations above land not yet visible. They carried plants, tools, animals, and everything needed to begin a civilization on an island no one in their voyaging party had ever seen. They called the island Tepito o Tehenua, the navel of the world. From where they stood, it was. The island was not a remote outpost at the edge of anything. It was the center. When the forests began to thin, and the wind stripped the exposed soil, and the crops became harder to sustain, they did not watch passively. They built the manavai, shallow circular depressions, ringed with stacked stone walls to break the wind and hold moisture in the soil around the plants inside. Traces of manavai are still visible across the island today. They are not decorative. They are engineering. But the island had a ceiling. When resources became insufficient to support the society that had grown to depend on them, conflict followed. The elaborate ceremonial system that produced the Moai collapsed. Statues were toppled. The population fell. Then the outside world arrived and made things incomparably worse. In 1862, Peruvian slave raiders captured somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people, including the island's paramount chief, its priests, and virtually everyone who could read the written script. Those people were worked to death in coastal Peru. When international pressure secured the release of survivors, the ships carrying them home were also carrying smallpox. By 1877, the population stood at 111 people. From a civilization that at its peak numbered in the thousands, 111 remained. What survived did so in the bodies and memories of those 111. The Rapa Nui did not disappear. Today, the indigenous population numbers in the thousands again, reclaiming their language, their practices, and their political authority over an island that was taken from them. That resilience is not a footnote to the story. There is a word in the Rapa Nui tradition that does not translate cleanly. Mana, something like spiritual power, the force that flows through certain people and places when they are in right relationship with the world. Chiefs had mana. When a chief died, that mana needed somewhere to go. It went into the stone. The Moai were not intended as art. They were vessels. When a lineage chief died, his descendants commissioned a statue carved in his likeness from the tuff of Rongorongo. That statue was erected on a ceremonial platform, an ahu, at the edge of his clan's territory, facing inland toward the community he was meant to protect. The ancestors' mana flowed outward over the land and people below. The eyes were installed last, carved from white coral with dark stone pupils, placed in the statue's sockets during a consecration ceremony. Before the eyes, the statue was stone. After them, it was looking at you. Nearly 900 Moai were carved on this island, the majority from Rongorongo, where carvers worked from above while the figure was still attached to the hillside. The largest unfinished statue measures 21 meters and weighs an estimated 270 tons. It never left the quarry. How did they move the ones that did? Oral tradition said the Moai walked. Researchers once dismissed this as legend. Then someone tried it. Attach ropes to a statue and pull alternately from side to side, and the figure rocks on its curved base and moves forward. A team of fewer than 20 people moved a 10-ton replica at a rate of 100 meters in 45 minutes. The oral tradition was not myth. It was instruction. The Rapa Nui also wrote, Rongorongo is one of very few writing systems in history developed independently of any other. The carved wooden tablets remain undeciphered. When the slavers took the island's literate class in 1862, they took the living key to a script no one can now read. Whatever was written, there may never be known. When the Moai tradition collapsed, the culture reorganized around the Birdman competition. Each year, clan representatives swam through shark-filled waters to retrieve the first sooty tern egg of the season from the islet of Motu Nui. The winner's clan held authority for the following year. The petroglyphs at Orongo village record this tradition in stone. Today, the Tapati Rapa Nui festival each February keeps these practices alive. 2 weeks of canoe racing, body painting, dance, and craftsmanship. The Hoko dance, related to the haka of the New Zealand Maori, continues to be passed forward. A culture does not have to be frozen to survive. You arrive in Hangaroa on a Tuesday evening, and the town is quiet in a way that takes adjustment. No high-rises, no international fast food signs. Streets are narrow, buildings low. A dog crosses the road with the unhurried confidence of an animal that has never needed to hurry. The morning begins before sunrise, if you know to let it. You drive east from Hangaroa in the dark and arrive at Ahu Tongariki before the sky has decided on color. 15 Moai stand on the longest ceremonial platform on the island, backs to the sea, faces turned inland. As the sun rises behind them, they emerge in silhouette first, black against gold, enormous and still. Then the light reaches their faces, and they are not silhouettes anymore, but presences, each one distinct, each one carrying centuries of weather differently. Nobody talks. Not at first. You move through the rest of the day the way the island moves, without urgency. In the artisan market, carvers work in Toromiro wood. The figures they produce are not reproductions of something dead. They are continuations of a practice that predates contact with the outside world. At the small fishing harbor, outriggers sit on the beach and a catch of yellowfin tuna comes in, scales catching the midday light. Sea turtles drift near the pier, slow and enormous. Drive the perimeter road and you share it with horses. Feral horses move through Easter Island with complete ease, grazing near the base of Moai, walking single file along the cliff edge, appearing around a bend and vanishing just as quickly. They arrived with the colonial ranching operations and have been here ever since, unclaimed, unworried. In the evening, a family prepares an umu Rapa Nui. The earth oven, sealed with volcanic stones and banana leaves, has been heating since morning. Chicken, sweet potato and fish, cooked in their own moisture deep underground. The flavor is something no other method produces. This is not a restaurant presentation. It is a Tuesday dinner using a technique older than the Moai. The thing that distinguishes Easter Island from other remote places is not its isolation. It is the specific quality of the silence here. No layer of urban noise beneath everything else. When you stop moving, you hear wind, ocean, and birds. The Moai in the late afternoon light seem less like objects than a long, patient attention directed at you. At this place. At the fact that you are here, and they have been here much longer than you have been anywhere. On Easter Island, if it was not made here, it traveled more than 2,000 miles to reach you. That single fact sits at the foundation of every economic calculation the island makes. The bag of flour, the pharmaceuticals at the pharmacy, everything that was not caught from the ocean or grown in a garden came by air or cargo ship from the Chilean mainland. The distance adds cost to every item and is simply accepted as the condition of life here. Most people work in one of three areas. The public sector, funded primarily by the Chilean government, employs a significant portion of the workforce. Tourism and hospitality employ a large share of the private economy. Small local businesses fill the rest. Fishing and small-scale agriculture still exist, but these are not, for most households, primary income. The traditional practices continue, maintained by people who value them for reasons that income does not fully capture. What the island produces that the outside world pays for is the experience of being here. Tourism has been the dominant economic force since regular air travel opened the island in the latter half of the 20th century. At its peak, more than 100,000 visitors arrived annually on an island of roughly 7,500 permanent residents. The visible commercial life, restaurants, hotels, tour operations, souvenir shops, is substantially oriented toward people passing through. The benefits are real. Tourism revenue sustains local businesses and makes participation in events like the Tapati Rapa Nui financially viable. The festival draws visitors whose spending matters. The costs are also real. When the economy depends on how things look to outsiders, there is pressure to present culture in ways legible to people who do not share it. What reads clearly is not always what is most meaningful. That gap is something the Rapa Nui navigate continuously. Living costs are among the highest of any community in Chile outside the major cities. Imported goods carry prices that reflect the full distance they traveled. Housing is expensive and limited. The island has always had to balance between what it can sustain internally and what it must draw from outside. That was true when the first settlers arrived with a finite supply of plants and tools. The form of the problem has changed. The problem itself has not. 1,000 years of adaptation did not end the story. It changed the shape of what needed adapting to. The climate around Easter Island is changing. Sea levels are rising, and the island's coastline meets the ocean with nothing mediating the encounter. The Ahu platforms were built near the coast. Waves that once fell short now reach the stone. Foundations are being undercut. The tuff the Moai are carved from is porous and weathers. The same rain the island needs for fresh water is slowly dissolving the statues that have stood through storms and deliberate toppling and centuries of wind. These are long-term problems measured in decades. They do not feel urgent the way a broken pipe feels urgent, but they are progressing. Tourism stresses the infrastructure in ways the island did not design for. Fresh water from the desalination plant and the crater lakes is finite. Solid waste generated by 100,000 annual visitors on a small island with limited land exceeds the island's processing capacity. Roads and archaeological sites absorb foot traffic that was not anticipated when those spaces were built for local use. The Chilean government and the Rapa Nui community have responded with visitor stay limits and requirements for licensed local guides at most archaeological sites. Whether those measures hold against economic pressure in lean years remains to be seen. The deeper challenge echoes something the island has been through before. When the Rapa Nui depended on their forests for construction and canoe building and fuel, the gradual loss was not immediately visible as catastrophe. Each tree cut was a reasonable response to an immediate need. The aggregate was something else. By the time the last palm was gone, the consequences were already irreversible. The island now depends on tourism, the way it once depended on its forests. The activity sustaining the dependency is also pressuring the landscape, the archaeological sites, the cultural authenticity that make the island worth visiting. The Rapa Nui understand this. They have heard the story before. How to sustain a livelihood without repeating the ancestors' errors is not abstract policy here. It is personal. It is genealogical. Not everything about Easter Island is settled. Some of the most important things about it are not settled at all. The oral tradition says the Moai walked, that the priests used mana to command the great stone figures to move on their own from the quarry to the coast. Outside researchers dismiss this as legend. Then someone tried it. Attach ropes to a statue and pull alternately from side to side, and the figure rocks on its curved base and moves forward, the way a refrigerator can be walked across a floor. A team of fewer than 20 people moved a 10-ton replica at a rate of 100 meters in 45 minutes. The oral tradition was not myth. It was technical description. The Moai themselves held a story hidden for a long time. Photographs showed only heads emerging from the hillside at Rongorongo, creating the image of mysterious floating heads. What was not visible was what lay below. Centuries of sediment had buried full bodies. When archaeologists excavated around several partially buried figures, they found complete torsos with carved petroglyphs on their backs, waiting underground for someone to dig down and find them. The eyes are another layer. The Moai, as they appear today, are blank. The coral eyes they once held were destroyed or removed during the period of interclan conflict. When a replica set of coral eyes was placed in a museum Moai to test the effect, people in the room described the experience as uncanny. The statue that had been an object became something else. It was looking back. And then there is Rongorongo. The undeciphered carved tablets represent either the greatest unsolved mystery in Pacific archaeology or the greatest act of cultural vandalism in Pacific history. When the slavers took the island's learned class in 1862, they took the living key to one of the few writing systems in history developed independently of all others. The tablets that survive, held in museums across Europe and the Americas, carry text no living person can read with confidence. Whatever is written, there may never be known. That absence is itself a kind of document. If you decide to come here, and it is the kind of trip that takes some deciding, here is what you need to know. There is one way in. You fly. LATAM Airlines operates flights from Santiago, Chile, taking approximately 5 to 6 hours. The airport sits on the edge of Rongorongo. You land, and you are already almost in town. Timing matters. February, specifically the first 2 weeks, is when the Tapati Rapa Nui festival takes place. The community is performing and competing and celebrating in ways that have nothing to do with your presence. The shoulder seasons, March through May and September through November, offer milder temperatures, smaller crowds, and better light. expect to spend more than you would on the Chilean mainland. Everything costs more here. Accommodation is clustered entirely in Hangaroa and ranges from simple guest houses to small boutique hotels. There are no international hotel chains, which is not a drawback. 3 places you cannot leave without seeing. Ahu Tongariki at sunrise, before the sun clears the horizon. Rano Raraku, in full daylight, walking slowly among statues in every stage of completion, some still embedded in the rock. And Rano Kau, with Orongo above it, the crater lake below, covered in floating reed islands, Birdman petroglyphs carved into rocks overlooking 300 meters of cliff to the sea. Purchase a national park entrance pass before you arrive. A licensed local guide is now required at most archaeological sites. The guides carry knowledge no sign or pamphlet can replace. Do not touch the statues. One honest note: if you are coming for nightlife or resort amenities, this island is not for you. If you are coming to stand somewhere, the weight of what humans have built and lost and rebuilt is physically present in the ground and the stone and the wind. Easter Island will meet you where you are. On your last night, you drive out past the edge of Hangaroa and cut the engine and sit in the dark. The Milky Way is overhead in a way it almost never is from anywhere with electric light. Every star that exists is apparently visible. The Southern Cross hangs low over the horizon the ancestors navigated by. The nearest city is 5 hours away by plane, and then thousands of miles further beyond that. But here is what the island teaches, if you let it. The edge of the world is a perspective problem. The Rapa Nui called this place the navel of the world. From inside their understanding, they were not wrong. Every civilization centers itself. What makes Easter Island unusual is that its isolation made the consequences of certain decisions visible in a way most civilizations never have to reckon with so directly. There was no neighboring island to trade with when the forests were gone. The feedback loop was short and unforgiving. The Earth is also an island, surrounded in every direction by an environment that cannot sustain human life. When the Rapa Nui cut the last palm, they had nowhere to go. That is not meant as despair. The Rapa Nui survived. Reduced almost to nothing, they came back. The same ingenuity that built the Moai and invented the Manavai is present in the people living here today, making decisions about tourism limits and language preservation and what kind of future they are building. Human beings can create things of extraordinary beauty. They can also create conditions that destroy what sustains them. The gap between those two is not a question of intelligence. It is a question of what gets paid attention to and whether it gets paid attention to in time. Easter Island has been asking that question for over 1,000 years. It is still asking. Easter Island is not a riddle waiting to be solved. It is a place that is still happening, still being lived, still being argued over and celebrated and grieved and built upon by the people who belong to it. The statues will outlast everyone alive on the island today. They have already outlasted everyone who built them. But what they were built to protect, the community, the relationships, the language, the knowledge, the sense of shared purpose that made carving a 20-foot stone figure and moving it across a roadless island seem like a reasonable thing to do, that is far more fragile and far more worth paying attention to. If this journey gave you something to think about, if it opened up a place or a question that you want to follow further, then it did what it was meant to do. Thank you, genuinely, for spending this time here with me. for being curious enough to follow this all the way to the end of an island at the edge of the world. If you want to keep going on journeys like this one, subscribe. Every new video is another place, another community, another story that deserves more than a headline or a highlight reel. You belong in that conversation. There is more to see. The next journey is already waiting.